Good evening from a very balmy Berlin. I'm sitting here in Potsdamer Platz. That's the Sony store there behind you. And I was just thinking as I was sitting here having dinner, where does a company like Sony that invests so much in future generations and in tomorrow's technologies, where does it get its information about what tomorrow's customers want? And it actually led me to think about another issue, and that is, where does any of us get it? So where is it that we actually get our reverse mentoring? And reverse mentoring is a theme that has come about in the last couple of years, which is, so I get mentoring from people who are more senior than me, and there are people who might be more experienced, or they might be where I want to be in a corporate world or in a business setting. But reverse mentoring instead is who is coming up the ranks and how can they share insights with me that I actually don't have access to myself because I'm further on than there. So I just wanted to tell you where I get mine, and they actually come from our Savvy Teens. Now, to those of you who don't know, we run a summer camp for teenagers called Savvy Teen Academy, and it focuses on careers, communication and confidence for 15 to 18 year olds. So we ran 2 programs, one in Cork and one in Dublin this year, and so our Savvy Teens for 2018 has now come to an end. But they shared an awful lot with me, and they loved doing it, actually. I always find it with them, actually, with our teenagers, that they really do love having a voice and having a platform to share their thoughts and views that are very valid and that are very learned, and actually in many cases very informed as well. So I thought, since I'm here, looking at Sony here behind me, as I say, and given all that is going on, it's a pure hive of activity here in Berlin tonight, I just thought that I'd share with you actually a couple of things that they shared with me. The first thing is social media. By God, is it changing? It's changing fast. So somebody described to me in Cork, actually, when I asked them about Facebook, they said, Facebook? That is so 2012. Now, I know Mark Zuckerberg is not going to be sitting on his laurels for long, if at all. I mean, after all, they did buy WhatsApp, where they all are at. But it certainly seems to be, in terms of Facebook, that they're not there anymore. They're certainly not at all as public there as they used to be years ago. They're listening to what we tell them about managing their public profiles, etc. Our Savvy Teens of a couple of years ago were telling us about Snapchat. But they are telling us about that there's new social media coming out, that their views on social media are changing all the time. And I would certainly say to those of you, like us, who are constantly looking at social media and the strategy that we have for it, is to make sure and always think about what's coming tomorrow. Because there are some new ones that they're currently talking about and looking at. And of course, also, if we go to China, specifically China, to a lesser degree Hong Kong and some of the other Asian countries, there's completely independent social media channels than what we're on at all. I was in Shanghai a couple of weeks ago and everything was on WeChat. Any of you that's active in China will know that already, but it just proved to me just how prevalent WeChat is. But yet I said to our Savvy Teens, I said, how many of you are on WeChat? And none of them were. So it's just important, I think, to always keep an eye out on that. And that you might say, well, am I late to the party by getting started now in such and such a social media? Maybe you are, maybe you're not. But it's worth actually checking in with your customers who may be customers of yours in maybe 2 or 3 years' time. Maybe somebody who you would see in the future being somebody who might be your customer, and asking them. Now, our Savvy Teens, they may not be customers of any of our different business elements in years to come, but they're certainly very interested in sharing their thoughts, as I say, on that, and social media is something that they're a huge expert in. Can I also just say something? I just want to put public perception to right here. Never once, right, and we're running Savvy Teens now for 4 years, never once have we to ask people to put down their phones. We really haven't. I don't see them as being addicted to their phones at all. They're actually, they put them away when our programs are running. They do take them out from time to time during the lunch breaks and everything, but I will say far fewer instances than if I was to be running a course where it would solely be adults. I do find that sometimes they get a bad rap for that they're actually not addicted to their phones at all. Instead, they're actually less addicted to the dopamine hit from a text or an email or a WhatsApp than we are. So I just wanted to put that out there, and something they feel strongly about, actually. Our Savvy Teens tell us is that they feel, people are always saying we're addicted to our phones, when actually we find that the people who are telling us are addicted to our phones, that they're the ones. The second thing that I wanted to say is that, now I find this a lot, particularly when I talk to them about financial matters, is they're quite fear ingrained. They have a lot of worries about getting a job. They're worried about the robots. I'm sure many of you have heard those statistics that 50% of the work that we do today was published by McKinsey could be automated. Now, that's not the same as 50% of jobs, but they're conscious of technology being obviously an enabler, but also something that will destroy some of the processes and procedures and thus labour opportunities that we have today. Now, I always point out to them, that there's 10 types of careers today that weren't in existence 10 years ago, whether it's, maybe data science at the level it is, or being a YouTuber, or somebody who would be totally involved in producing digital media for a small company, for example, and lots more. I know you could all mention many more of them. So the point I make to some of our, particularly the younger end, let's say the 15-year-olds, is that by the time they're 25, and at that stage they'll be out of college, assuming they go, of course, that they'll be out of college and probably maybe just after a post-grad qualification, again, assuming that they do, and that then there will be new jobs created that they will be applying for that haven't been invented yet. But what I will say is they are quite, there's a lot of fear in there. And if you think about it, it makes sense. And the reason I think it makes sense is that they went through the financial crash as kids, young kids. Sometimes, we've had people who were born in the early 2000s, so they were toddlers or very young children when they went through the financial crash, and may have seen the implications of that without being able to process them, without maybe knowing they were temporary, or without knowing that they happen and that it's a natural part of life. But they are worried. They're very worried, and they're worried, will they make enough money to be able to be self-sufficient, or to live a lifestyle that they would like, or to give the people that they love a lifestyle that they would like. And just flowing on from that, they're very family conscious. I find, anyway, our savvy teens very family conscious. Again, many of these people would have grown up in environments where maybe one or both people were working, and naturally they completely understand that and so on. And therefore, conversations around work-life balance and family focus, and they're now starting to think about maybe what type of family structure they would like in the future and so on. They're hugely family focused. And I think we've already seen that in probably the latter group of millennials. You hear that quite a lot. So I think, we need to be prepared for that as people who are going to be employing these people in the future, is that this is what they want. This is very, very important to them. And promotion and opportunity and, constant feedback, which is what we often think is synonymous with what millennials want. I am telling you, Gen Z is looking for a real family focus, and we need to be conscious of that, and to make sure that the values that what they want and what they espouse, that we are offering within our workplaces in time to come. One thing that happened this year, particularly in Dublin, was that we had quite an international influence. So we had one girl who came over from Barcelona, who was originally from Nigeria. We had one guy over from Italy, originally Irish. We had one girl from Hong Kong, originally Irish. We had two girls from Belfast. We had one guy originally from Romania, was born in Greece, now living in Ireland, etc. And the international impact was brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. And it's really interesting to hear the questions they ask each other. They ask each other about social norms and about customs and about, what people think of their country abroad, or what people think of their nationality at home, or whether they'd like to live there in the future. And also, they calmly, and I will say this, they really did, quite calmly would be having controversial conversations about what such and such a person might think of immigration in a certain country, or Brexit in a different country, and so on. It was a wonderful element. And I really enjoyed listening to the conversations, in some cases facilitating them, but I don't have to do that for long, I can tell you. We really don't have to do that for long at all when they're well able to get going themselves. And as the week goes on, it's just wonderful to be a bystander and listen to their views, and unbiased views at that. In some cases they've lesser experience, but as I say, they're quite informed. The last thing that I'll just say, an observation that I had as well, is that they love learning about themselves. I sometimes forget just how much experience life brings through various different experiences along the way, whether it might be personally or professionally, where you do get a chance to learn about yourself. And if you're quite observant, or if you're self-reflective, how much you can learn about yourself along the way. And they haven't done that yet, and they love it. So whether it might be Monica does the DISC profile with them, I do some career guidance, and I ask them pointed questions, so that they can learn more about themselves along the way. And I point them towards different ideas or areas of careers that they may not have been aware of before, or I point out things that they can reflect on during a mock interview, things like that. And they love it. They absolutely love it. So at this point, I'm going to say thank you very much, as I say, joining you from a really lovely, futuristic in many ways, Berlin here this evening. Thank you for joining me, and I hope that I will give you, or that I've given you some inspiration about where you can find your own reverse mentoring.